Today I'm making the video that I wish I had had when I first started nervous system regulation practices. When I first started learning about nervous system work and how it might positively impact my life, I felt like I was failing all of the time. And this is really due to two common misconceptions about nervous system regulation practices. The first misconception is that nervous system regulation means that you are going to be calm and zen and peaceful and like a yoga guru in nirvana all of the time. The second misconception is that all nervous system regulation tools are going to work for all the different nervous system states. So to put this really concretely, I think we've all been told to take deep breaths to calm down. And it wasn't until later I learned that there's one nervous system state in particular where if you are activated, deep breaths might be the worst thing you can do. So this isn't to say that's a bad tool, just that it was the wrong tool for that state. So today's video I'm covering a nervous system map, which is what I wish I had started with when I first started learning about nervous system regulation, because it helps you understand your states, your triggers, and your specific tools that are going to help you through those states. Before I jump in, I did want to mention I have a nervous system mapping freebie that you can access by clicking the link down below, and it's just a step-by-step guide of what we're going to be talking about today. And to give you some context about why our nervous systems work the way that they do and why we need different tools for different states, we're going to go a little bit into the biology of this, but if this is boring to you, go to the next timestamp, totally understand. Our nervous systems evolved to scan and react to danger in real time. They are as automatic as our heartbeat. Back in the day, this meant, if a lion approached us, that we would be able to fight it or run away from it or play dead if all else failed. So if your nervous system's response to perceived danger is fight or flight, it wants to move, it wants to run away, it wants to punch the lion in the nose. Versus if, everything has gone wrong and your body thinks that its only option is to play dead to minimize damage, you're going to feel shut down and numb and conserve energy. If you're in, let's say, a fight or flight state, and your body wants to move, and you take the generic advice of deep breaths, your body is going to be heckin' confused. It's gonna be like, no, we need to run right now. You want to sit here and breathe, you're going to die. It can actually make you more anxious and more agitated in that moment. And if you're in that play dead, shut down state and you start doing deep breaths, your body might double down on feeling dead. So again, deep breaths generically is not bad, it's just a bad tool for the state that you're in. And this is where a nervous system map comes into play and can be really helpful for you to better understand which tools work best for you and when. So nervous system mapping is just bringing conscious awareness to what different states feel like to you in your body, what triggers put you there, and helps you identify which tools might best help you dependent upon which state that you're in. So this turns guessing which tool might work into pattern recognition. And as a cool side benefit, I really think it's helpful because it makes you look at your nervous system and your reactions to things with like a curious eye versus a critical eye. You're no longer thinking, why am I like this? In a negative way, you're like, what is my body trying to protect me from right now? And how can I help it feel safer and more supported? So step one is really figuring out what your different states feel like to you specifically. So I can give you examples, but everyone is going to be a little bit different. The first state we should talk about is ventral vagal. This is your connected, calm, confident state. This is what regulation tools are trying to get you back to. For me, this feels like ease in my body, like I'm not trying or striving for anything. It's just a confident I can when I am approached with a challenge. And this might feel like you're breathing deeply and normally, like you just have a fuller breath, your jaw is relaxed, your shoulders are away from your ears, your thoughts are slower, more positive, more logical, and you can be present in the moment without having to consciously bring yourself back to reality over and over. And again, this state doesn't necessarily feel like calm. That might not be the word that resonates for you. It could be present, it could be connected, it could be online. Really, this is the state that you want to be in when you are approached with a challenge, because then you're not starting from a depleted place, you're starting from the best possible scenario. The next state we'll talk about is your fight or flight state. This is also known as the sympathetic state. When approached with a challenge in this state, it feels really frenetic and urgent, like I must do this thing. Some signs that you're in this state might be racing thoughts or ruminating thoughts, a tight chest or shallow breath, restlessness, irritability, urgency, and fix-it energy. Like you want to fix the problem immediately and urgently and with a ton of anxiety. For me, it feels tight like this. If I were to describe it, it would be like this. Like this is how I feel. It's just so frenetic and chaotic, and I can feel it building and anxious and like kind of grindy in my body. And the last state is your fawn shutdown state, also known as your dorsal vagal state. It can feel like you're collapsing into yourself or numb, or like you have to please all of the people around you. This can feel like heaviness, brain fog, numbness, avoidance, scrolling, and again, people pleasing. I think a lot of people would think of themselves as being lazy in this state, but really it's your body conserving energy. If approached with a challenge in this state, you might just think, I can't. For me, this state feels very hopeless. Like things are bad and will always be bad, so what is the point in even trying? I feel super disconnected from my body in this state. So just a couple different approaches you can use to describe your different states. Definitely talk about your body sensations, what your mind does when you're in those states. You can even use emojis or colors to describe what those states feel like to you. Once you have your states defined, then you're going to look at the different triggers or the different signs of dangers, signs of perceived danger that your body sees that puts you from one state to another. So some examples of triggers that can put you into fight or flight might be difficult conversations, emotional confrontation, emails, conflict, time pressure, feeling misunderstood. A lot of times it has to do with not rejection from community, but conflict in community or perceived conflict in community. For me, I also get fight or flight a lot when I am frustrated at a task and it feels like it's time bound in some way. So for me, it has a lot to do with time pressure and capacity as well. And then shutdown fawn triggers are going to be a little bit different. It more has to do with rejection from community. Like if you put forth effort and you don't get acknowledgement or reward for that effort, it's kind of like what's the point energy around situations. So monotony, tedium, repetition, feeling trapped can be a big one. And then if there are unclear expectations that you need to meet and they're constantly unclear and you're constantly trying to meet them, eventually your body is just going to give up and you're going to shut down in those situations. When you're doing this process, again, try to approach it with a mind of curiosity. And for me, I find this helpful to do both as like a short-term brainstorming session. So there's something that brought you to nervous system regulation in the first place. So if you try to work through what those triggers might be first, that can be really helpful. And then moving forward, you're going to encounter triggers that you hadn't considered during that brainstorming session. So to me, this is really an ongoing practice. And anytime I feel myself get activated, I approach it with curiosity and I go, oh, that moved me into a fight or flight state. What was my trigger? All right, so your step 3 is going to be identifying the tools that work for you in different states. And this is where you can start taking the generic nervous system regulation advice and start applying it to you in your real life. For example, breathing can be grounding, can also be irritating, and it can also force you further into shutdown depending on which state that you're in. So our goal isn't to eliminate any tools or to identify the best tool, is to identify the best tool for you. Again, I recommend getting the guide, which is linked down below, because it's going to give you options for different things that you can explore, different tools for different states. But to make this really concrete, I'm going to give you the examples of what works for me in each state. So as we previously discussed, fight or flight means your body is trying to move in that situation. It's trying to run away from the lion or punch it in the nose. And my body doesn't know the difference between a lion and a difficult phone call conversation. So what I have found is if I don't do this in this order, I get ruminating thoughts. Like I'll be like, I said this and then she said this and I should have said this and she was so wrong and I was so right, and that'll just play over and over and over in my head, and it's because my body couldn't complete the movement. Instead, what I do is I'll go on a brisk walk. or push really hard against a wall, or shake out my hands just so my body can move and complete that movement. Then I will focus on grounding. I'll make myself super comfy, make a cup of tea. Here's where deep breath might actually work well for me. I'll get really warm and make sure I just feel safe and connected to my body. That step doesn't work without the movement step first. If I tried to move from difficult conversation to warm, cozy vibes, I would have ruminating thoughts. And the fascinating thing for me is that by having that movement piece in between those two steps, by having the difficult conversation, doing the movement, and then grounding, I don't get ruminating thoughts anymore. And just a note on that too, if you're newer to these practices, you might notice you have to do it in cycles. So you would do the movement, then when you stop having ruminating thoughts, you would do the grounding. And then as you're doing the grounding, you might notice those thoughts come up again. You might need to reactivate the movement and then go back to grounding. I just wanted to say that so you don't feel like you're failing if you start having ruminating thoughts again. For me, in shutdown fawn state, what I used to do is I would just try to push through that state. And what you're teaching your body when you push through and you're in a shutdown state and you just force yourself to do things, your body learns that it can't trust you. Your body is trying to conserve energy. It's trying to tell you that it feels unsafe. And what you are doing is overriding what your body is telling you. So over time, what your body learns is it doesn't matter how I feel, like physically, she's just going to make us push through. And when I would do that, when I would just try to push through, I would feel miserable while I was doing it, and then it never got easier. Versus now what I do is I stop pushing, I stop trying to motivate myself or be more disciplined. I allow my body to rest and relax. I focus on getting really cozy and really warm and really taking a break for myself. For me, it's helpful if I have really low stimulation, so not a lot of sound or light in my environment, and really gentle sensory input. So during this phase, I'm not going to be pushing it hard at the gym, but I might do a gentle yoga practice or spend some time just focusing on wiggling my toes and wiggling my fingers and feeling my energy in my body. What happens when I take this approach is my body is fully able to rest and relax. It knows that I'm listening to it, right? It's telling me it's unsafe and I'm responding to that cue. And then I get my second wind. My body shifts out of that state into ventral vagal, the connected, calm, happy, JC state. And I'm able to be way more productive and joyful while I'm producing because I allowed my body to move out of that state rather than just trying to push through the grind. I'm not mad at my past self for not knowing this. I just wish I had had this resource available to me when I first started nervous system practices, because I can't tell you how many times I tried to push through and grind and it was a miserable experience and it never got better. And now I allow my body to rest and then I move back into my connected state. I'm able to get stuff done and feel good while I'm doing it. It's crazy. So that is the nervous system map, but I wanted to talk about something that gives you kind of bonus points, in my opinion. If you can notice your early signs of activation, when you're starting to get amped up and perhaps move into a fight or flight state, or you're starting to have those hopeless thoughts of self-abandonment, what you can do is you can kind of stop it in its tracks. And the best example I can give of this is, for me, if I have to learn a new software or technology, forget it, I am going to get activated historically. And so what I've started doing is when I start to feel myself get activated, I literally slow down my movements to half speed. What this does is it tells my body, oh, she must be safe. If she can move that slow, there must not be immediate danger. So rather than letting myself get anxious and hyped by having to learn something new that's frustrating, I slow myself down. I make myself take the extra time because, one, when you're calm, you're much more likely to think logically through that situation. And two, it's going to be a much more joyful learning process. So the extra time it takes to move more slowly, I think I gain in positive emotions and also probably time saving because I'm not making dumb mistakes because I'm so dysregulated. And this is where regulation tools become a superpower because you're no longer reacting to moving between states, you are consciously preventing the movement. I hope this helped today. Your nervous system map is really meant to be personal to you. If it looked like mine, it probably wouldn't be super helpful. I also know that this conversation was pretty abstract and conceptual, but there's so many regulation tools out there. So when you hear about one, you can kind of decide, oh, I think this might work for me here or here or here, and you can experiment over time to see what does work. And again, the guide also has much more concrete recommendations as well, and you can download that using the link below. Nervous system regulation work can be so confusing because there's so many options out there, but it's really because so many different things work, but they work for different people for different states. So if you have any questions or you're confused as you're getting started in your nervous system regulation journey, I hope you comment. I'd be happy to share my experience and what has helped me and the people around me as well. Anyways, thank you for watching today, and I'll see you all in the next one. Okay, bye.